Hey guys, this is Kevin from The Ordinary Guy Show. This week we're going to go over HOAs and how much I hate them, as well as we're going to go over why I feel the millennial generation has such a hard time in the society today. Stick around, it's going to be fun. So let's jump right into this. Why do I think that millennials are so lazy? And most people are going to say, hey Kev, aren't you a millennial? Yeah, you got me. I'm a millennial. But I like to consider myself an elder millennial. You know how they say you can't make fun of somebody unless you are like them? Well, in this case, I'm coming right at you millennials because I am going to teach you a thing or two. So I think the biggest problem is the fact that when we were growing up as millennials, our parents were just trying to do what was right by us and make it easier and better for us. Every parent, if they're a good parent, wants their child to do better than they did. The problem is by doing that is I think that our parents actually made it too easy on us. A lot of our friends were given pretty much free rides all the way through college, never had to work a day in their life, and then when they met what was called the real world, they couldn't understand that the real world didn't care about their feelings. And that, I feel, is why we're in this total mess right now, is people feel like I should care about your feelings. I don't. And I'm not going to sit here and paint a pretty picture and pretend that I do, because I don't. The world is dog eat dog. In order to be better at your job or at your life, you have to succeed. And whatever that takes for your family, that's what you have to do. I have compassion for people I know and love and care about, my friends, my family, and I have a certain amount of compassion for others. But if you're acting like a fool, I'm not going to feel bad for you. And neither is most of society. And I think that is the biggest problem in today and age, is everybody is looking for someone to care about them that doesn't necessarily need to care about them. It's like we have this complex where we have to be coddled. And that doesn't go for the older generations because they grew up in a tougher time where they were told, you know, get with it, get in step, and get the job done. And I'll tell you what, the baby boomers did a dang good job because they were super successful. But another reason I feel like the millennial generation has had another such rough time is everything comes easy. You know, nowadays you can go and pick up your groceries curbside. You can order it from an app. It'll show up at your house. You can go on Amazon and buy stuff and it's here in a day or two. In some cases, it's there in an hour in larger cities. I mean, there's nothing you have to work for anymore. I remember, you know, growing up, if you wanted a video game, let's say, you just had to wait for your parents to go to the video game store, and typically that thing was probably 45 minutes to an hour away, so it was a special trip. You didn't just go and get a video game. And most people probably don't remember, Walmart used to not sell video games, and either did Kmart. It wasn't until later on that that became the norm, and you could go to your local Walmart or Kmart, or, you know, almost everywhere has a GameStop now, and you could pick up a game, and that goes with a lot of different stuff. You know, it was a special trip to get a toy, and you saved, and you mowed yards, and you did all sorts of other stuff to make up this money to be able to go get this goal. So life, in that sense, was goal-oriented. Now it's just like, hey man, I got on Amazon and ordered like 15 games on my parents' credit card. When they find out, I mean, what are they going to do? Well, your parents should beat you over the head. But unfortunately, that is frowned on by society. But I think you see the point is, everybody wants things now. They don't want to work for it. They don't want to wait for it. They just want it handed to them in all aspects of life. And this has become a huge problem. And, you know, I've gotten very serious on topics here lately, but it's because this stuff hits home. It's like, if we keep going down this path, these kids are going to get worse and worse and worse. And we all love our kids. I'm not saying go home and treat your kids unfairly, but, you know, treat them, you know, with some respect and the fact that you want to treat them some life skills. I don't know how many friends of mine to this day probably don't know how to write a check. Like, teach your kids the basics. Let them learn how to mow the grass. Let them do laundry. They're going to not like you for it, but they're going to appreciate it later because, you know what? I'm not calling anybody asking, hey mom, can you tell me how to put this dish detergent in this dishwasher? No, I knew how to do it because, you know, my parents maybe do it. Enough of that. So I think everybody's probably in agreement that the millennials are lazy, and they're probably most likely turning off their computers right now, cussing me out, and putting on their fedora and hiding in a corner. And if you aren't, I'm proud of you. You've moved on to phase 2. So anyways, let's get into the one thing I truly hate. And I can't believe that I didn't think about this until today. It's like my most hated thing on the face of the planet. I grew up in a community that was larger development. So we had like 1 to 2 acres apiece, if not 5 in some cases. So every house was pretty far away from each other. No HOA is what I'm getting at. You had this country style living. Everybody kept to themselves. Everybody was happy. Everybody's houses looked pretty dang good. And you know, the place didn't go up in flames just because somebody wasn't overseeing it. Fast forward to my first condo. My first condo I bought, I did not realize when I bought it, had a very, very strict HOA. Now let me tell you some of these rules. And another thing is, I want you in the description below to tell me your craziest HOA stories, because I know everybody has one, because HOAs are always that crazy. Moving forward, one of the rules I had when I first moved into my condo that I bought is that I wasn't supposed to be able to own it. It was supposed to be 55 and older. Nobody told me that. It wasn't actually an official rule, but it was frowned on to be under 55 and own one of these condos. Well, they were gonna have to get over that, considering I was, I think, 24 at the time. And you know what? I already bought it, so you gotta live with me. So you can imagine by that what I was dealing with the typical tenant, so to speak. Another one of the rules was they had what's called Doggie DNA. So you're gonna say, hey Kevin, what's Doggie DNA? No, let me tell you what Doggie DNA is. Doggie DNA is when your doggie takes a dump in the middle of the yard, wherever it is, they have that dog's DNA on file. So if you don't pick up said dog dump, and somebody else has to pick up that dog dump, they can turn it into the doggy dump center. Then they go through a scientific process that costs about $200 for them to test and line up this DNA to find out whose doggy dumped in the parking lot. Then that person is then reprimanded and has to pay a fine plus the fee for the doggy DNA. To me, it sounds like it'd probably be a lot better in all the money you waste from raccoon crap and whatever else has stumbled in there, and just pick it up and throw it in the trash like a normal person. But no, we don't do that. Not where I bought a place. People were getting fined left and right. It's the most insane thing I've ever heard in my life. But it gets better. My HOA does not allow you to park as a guest in a guest spot. Hey Kevin, why aren't guests allowed to park in the guest spots? Well, I wish I had an answer for you there, Timmy. I love using the name Tim after last week. Like, that's my thing now. But no one knows. No one has any clue. There's guest spots, you're not allowed to park in them. You're only allowed to park as an actual guest in a unmarked spot. The guest spots are supposedly for, yeah, I have no idea. You're not allowed to park in them. But it's just the rules that are nuts. So then I was like, you know what? Me and Morgan got together. I didn't want to deal with the HOA anymore, and we decided to build a home. Well, lo and behold, we get into the HOA here at my home now, and then this one starts going crazy. When I first moved in here, there was no houses, maybe like 5. So we moved out here and we kind of had the lay of the land. Well, then somebody moved in down the street from me who will go unnamed. That person is the biggest butthole on the planet. Calls the cops on me several times, and you're probably thinking, what, Kevin, what'd you get the cops called on you for? For parking my own car in my own yard. That's a true story. And for, quote unquote, dumping oil in my yard from my 4-wheelers. We're gonna get to that story. And parking legally on the street in front of my house. And there's a lot more. Like, it happened all the time. It was always the same insane person. So, to get back to the first one, I had a 4x4 4Runner that I used to park on the edge side of my grass. My yard, there's no rules against it, totally okay, and it's not like it's a piece of junk, it's actually a decent looking truck. I pull the thing up, I've got it parked next to my own car in my driveway, and I've got it set there. Well, I go off to work. My wife gets a knock at the door. It's a tow truck driver. He goes, hey, that SUV out there, is that yours? And my wife goes, well, yeah, it's my husband's. And he goes, oh, okay, well, I got a call about it saying it was parked illegally in somebody's yard. She goes, no, I didn't call and it's my yard. Well, it was the crazy HOA lady who was calling in just to start a problem as usual. And the tow truck driver proceeds to say, well, I'm definitely not going to tow it because it'd be grand theft because it's yours and it's on your property. There's no rule against it, and this crazy woman is still doing this. Then on top of this, so when I tell you that I got the EPA called on me, I was outside one day hosing off my four-wheelers. So I used to go four-wheeling all the time. I used to come back, you'd hose them off, you know, you'd have the dirt on them, whatever, and then put them in the garage. Well, they called the EPA on me because they said I was dumping oil in the yard. Lady, come on. You think black mud is oil? And the last I checked, if you are dumping oil in your own yard, you're going to have a dead yard. My yard is green. The last time I checked, oil doesn't make your yard green. Oh, and I know she's going to watch this video. And this shout out goes to you. You are a terrible person that has nothing better to do with your life other than give people problems. Hence, typical HOA. And why is it always the head of the HOA is the biggest pain in the butt on the planet? And then the last story I was telling you about is parking legally on my own road in front of my own house. So all of a sudden the HOA decides, hey, we're going to make it to where it's illegal to park on the street. Okay, well that's fine if we own the street. But the city plat says, hey, it's public grounds. We pay taxes for it, so that means that you have to follow the city of Titusville rules, which says you can park on the street. This woman goes ahead and calls the police on me trying to get my car towed for parking legally. That did not fly. I fought all the way through the city. Good news is she's been kicked off the board and we have new people now that are much better, but I can tell you that she was a nightmare and I can't even go on about it. Like, she's so nuts, it's insane. But anyways, there was about 500 other stories, as I know you guys probably have 600 as well, and I would love to hear them in the comments. I feel like people could go on for days that live in HOAs. I just wish I had the money to move somewhere that didn't have one, because it would be so nice to not have an HOA where I could actually park my own boat at my own house and not have to store it a half a mile away from my home. That'd be nice. It's like you're a prisoner in your own home. That's all I got this week. Let me know in the comments below about your stories. Like I said, please like and subscribe the video. We need as many as possible. We're growing every week thanks to you guys. We need to hit that 1,000 subscribers. We're at a whopping 58. So if you're watching this, do me a favor. If you're my friend, even if you're not my friend, if you've never met me, how could you say no to this face? And other thought, just subscribe. I'll see you guys later. Have a good one.